Hey everyone, I am Aeroplace, and I have never done 3D environment design slash level design before. So it's been a while since the last video. I mean, it's really been a while, and that's because first of all, I started making a new game in Unreal Engine. Three projects at the same time, I know it's crazy, and there are other things as well which I would save the story for later videos. Originally, I was going to make a develop on that Unreal Engine game, but yeah, it's whatever. You can't help yourself when these videos comes on your feed daily. So, you know the rest of the deal. I see, I want, and I jump into it not having even the slight bit of an idea to what or how to do. So, I'm making this abandoned area with a warehouse and some buildings. Essentially, this is the idea of a map which I would be making for my upcoming Unreal Engine game. So, I thought to make something similar so as to have an idea on how to make this kind of environment, and maybe it will be quicker to design the level at the time of map development. Firstly, I gathered some references and arranged them in PureRef, which is a free tool and helps a lot in conceptualizing your setting. So this is the map I would be making. We have warehouse in the middle, house one on bottom right, and another building in bottom left. And you can see there's rest written because at first I thought it to have a restroom, but that was not able to make it to the finale. Workshop kind of area here top left, and some extra details. By the way, these blue bodies are not water, they were meant to be containers, but yeah, whatever. Next thing I did was to create concept art just to get an idea how things may look like, and also I'm doing this properly, whatever the workflow steps are there in level designing. Also, as you can see, it's not looking that authentic or good. I made this as a very basic draft, so didn't want to put that much effort into this, and I wasn't sure that things would go like this. I mean, just look at the concept and the final result. Similarities are questionable, but jokes aside, it really does a lot of helping. It saves time so that you can sort of get the environment's idea, what to include and what not, because if you invested a lot of time in making 3D assets and designing, and somehow it's not looking ideal, and now you have actually wasted a lot of time. Prevention is better than cure, let's just say that. But after making the warehouse and a sort of apartment building, I got bored, so I didn't do the rest of the concept arts and just jumped into creating an Unreal Engine 5 project. So I created a third person template project just to have some basic content, and this template is actually different from the one in Unreal Engine 4. It has control IK, all the stuff, and now I'm getting too invested in this. Then I created a new basic level and first created a landscape using UE5 landscaping tools so as to give a sort of terrain look. This is going to be an abandoned area in a forest, so an absolute flat land seems unrealistic. That's why I painted some noise on the landscape. The next step was blocking out the level. Level blocking means to create a primitive layout of the map so that you have a basic understanding of how things would scale in the after stages. So I modeled the basic geometry of all the buildings, and for this project I did not require Blender or any other 3D software. I did it all with the Unreal modeling tools, which was more than enough for what I needed, and they are really helpful and beginner friendly, so saved me a lot of time. Now to make this proto-like cracked wall, I used noise displace function to give a sort of jagged look, then applied boolean operation to remove this geometry from the wall. I would say that I was pretty ambitious for thinking this scale of a map as a first 3D environment project, but in the end I am pretty happy it turned out better than I expected. Unreal has made these things so much easy. There's Lumen, which saves you from baking light maps and gives you real-time reflections and illumination, and Nanite, which lets you add so much geometry and millions of triangles in a scene, and best of all, Megascans, where you can get very high quality assets for free. And also Mixer, amazing tool. And then I got invested again in playing. Similarly, I blocked out all the other elements with Unreal modeling tools and similar displacement bool techniques for fractured wall. And there are some things which didn't come out as planned, like this workshop. It was supposed to look like this, but I got heavily pressured from voices in my head, which in short stands for laziness. So you now get this Walmart fully damaged version. Abandoned area, my friends. And after all that, it was time to. Then what I did was to create a landscape master blend material. And what's a blend material, you may ask? Well, as the name suggests, it lets you blend two or more materials. Like suppose you want a material to have dirt, grass, or maybe soil, then you can easily paint those details on same material. I created a similar shader where you have base grass layer and you can add dirt and floor layer on it. This helps to achieve ideas such as dirt path on terrain, like in my case. I also added puddles, water holes, which occurs when it's raining. From the starting, I wanted to have a rainy calm weather for the scene, because I like it very much. At least there was something which I planned from the start and did end up happening. Also, I got distracted again. Now it was time to create building assets. So I did, and I also recommend everyone to do the asset production work in a separate level so that things doesn't go messy in the main scene. And also what happened one time that the level which I was making assets in got corrupted, and although I was able to recover it using autosave, but I lost progress of some hours, so you would not want that for your main level. I created the texture for warehouse wall in Quixel Mixer. I have used this tool before and it's a really good alternative for Substance Painter for procedural texturing. Then I added dusty window classes and rusty frames or trims, whatever it's called, and then it was time to create damage walls. So this video on how they made this war scene in 90 days showed a great way of making fractured structures using Unreal modeling tools. So with that I created this cracked portion of walls and also created some blend materials so that I can paint moss and some more details on it. After that I assembled all of the modular assets in the main scene. The next step was to create the roof of the warehouse. So all these warehouses has this web-like structure of rods so as to support the roof shed. And here you can see I am experimenting with the patterns of the roof, which ended up looking like this. Also my plan was to create the basic structure of every building first so that I have a basic geometry and I can carefully add further props to scene, keeping performance related stuff in mind. And yeah, so added metal shed on the roof. And the next thing I did was to add some construction beams to the sides of the wall where it's damaged. Also painted the wall with blend materials to add moss and a bit of worn out parts. Similar fracture modeling I also did for the building 1, and by the time I was getting quicker and quicker making this. And as you can see in the background, I accidentally painted some texture, some rough concrete texture on the sky in the process. Good thing I was working on a separate level. Also, one great thing you can do with UE modeling tools is that you can displace the geometry with displacement maps so as to get more wall roughness or jaggedness, whatever you wanna call it, which looks more realistic than normal maps. And with Nanite it's possible to have that geometry but still simplify the mesh because values sometimes can be astronomically high without even providing quality advantage. Then yeah, again assembled it in the main level. So this is an unfinished apartment building whose construction was abandoned a long time. Actually, storytelling is an important aspect when creating any environment. I also have a backstory up in my mind about this place. So let me tell you that. So what happened was there was a rich kid and he was bored playing hide and seek in his big mansion. So one day he decided to have him build a hide and seek playground for him and his friends in a forest. Getting adventures was he. So he said to his butler, "Hey, I need this and don't you dare tell that to my parents." The butler frightened started the construction and a warehouse, a quarter was made, and when the third building was in construction, butler gazed at the kid and the kid had absolutely forgotten everything. So in confusion, butler didn't know what to do next, worker didn't know what to do next, and the area was abandoned forever. I think this is not what they meant by storytelling when I was reading Level Design 101. Sorry about that. Let's just speculate that maybe it was supposed to be workers' quarter and the place was meant to be a forest industry. I don't know for sure. It's up to players' imagination what comes to their mind after seeing this area. Then I made a storage area, maybe an office, or maybe just a general area. Again, leaving it on your imagination. I think it fits the vibe here. So this building has suffered the most damage out of all of them. Maybe it's an earthquake prone area and a tree fell on this side of the building. That's also I shaped this to be. Maybe because of the frequent earthquakes it became abandoned. Maybe that's why everybody left. Storytelling. I also used these assets from abandoned apartment pack. Well, very similar to what I'm making. Anyways, I used these assets to make the ceiling of the buildings. I really didn't want to create more assets and this works just fine for me. So our ceiling. Again adding details to the walls similar to what I did for the warehouse and the other building, and it's just the same thing again really. So let's jump to the next phase, which is set dressing. So set dressing is a step where you add all of your props and objects to the scene. So I gathered mix scans and some free assets from the marketplace and made a collection so it's easy to find meshes rather than going in folders for each one. Well, an abandoned area would probably have very few items around it. Most of it would be debris or waste. But oh, actually, I haven't told you about the game I'm making in Unreal Engine. So it's actually a multiplayer third person shooter. Yeah, third person. Third person shooters are great. Now don't say that, oh no, it's not a first person shooter, too bad, guess I was just hyped for nothing. No, third person shooters can be good. Just wait for upcoming videos, you'll see what I mean. Anyways, where were we? Oh yeah, so as I said, one of the map would be a similar abandoned area like this. So that's why I'm adding some game elements to it like pallets, crates and all that stuff. Maybe what happened was that it could be a secret military outpost, or maybe because this was an isolated area, so this became some mercenaries encamped hidden outpost. Now at this point I am just making some sort of multiverse storyline for this area. Storytelling. Next thing was to add some foliage to this warehouse. I was actually being careful not to make it too post-apocalyptic. There's actually a very thin wall between that and I think I didn't pass that. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments whether it's looking abandoned or post-apocalyptic. The only reason I was adding this much foliage was because it's a forest scene, so makes sense. Not like the setting of Last of Us where whole city is covered in moss. That's actually post-apocalyptic. In my view, where you have a normal building but somehow it feels isolated, has an eerie atmosphere and no human influence, that's post-apocalyptic. Similarly, I did the set dressing of these quarters. This building contains tables, chairs because it's a sort of house, so these things would fit right. Detail the floor with debris, broken tiles, burnt stuff, and yeah, foliage. There's some foliage floating in here somewhere there. What a normal day. Oh, by the way, this is unlit mode, which is good for placing assets as things are more clear. I'm actually not running this on PlayStation 2. Then I added some creepers to the walls, and it's done. Now, I have seen a lot of references where murals are painted on the walls of these abandoned buildings. So, mega scans have these amazing stickers or graffitis like this. Let's save the planet. What a beautiful message. Okay, let's now save the planet. Well, who needs a morality message when you can have P72? Please, I don't know what that means. At least this skull looks cool. And did all the other detailings, and now we are off to the storage building. So first of all, I added a floor because this building was completed rather than the other one, and for this addressing of this quarter, I added shelves, cartons, which they might have left, they, as if they are some kind of aliens. Well, anyways, also added some carton and concrete debris. After all, this building is the most damaged. Also, I really like this racket mess portion very much. At first, I was thinking to make this building sort of cafeteria or a general recreation area, but that could have been pretty logical, so this fits right to me. Foliage, more foliage. So I was pretty fed up with creating walls, buildings, so I just used 3D assets to sort of speedrun this part of the area. At first, I was even dicey about creating this structure, but it finally saw the light. Now, after we have all of our major sections ready, it was time to fill the rest of the environment. So I painted this long wild grass on whole of the area with some variety of foliage, and oh boy, I was worried about crashing the game engine with this huge swarm of grasses. Now to cover the horizon, I downloaded Megascan trees and with the help of foliage tool I painted. Whoa, take it easy man. Yeah, this seems about right. This is reminding me of a meme about 3D art that I saw on the Instagram the other day, which I'm not able to find it now. Now, Megascan trees are amazing and have such amazing quality, but that's the problem in this case. It really has a very high quality. Just look at the triangles and vertices count. It's ridiculous for some trees that are just in background to have this much high details. It was also giving some serious performance issues which my 1660 Ti was not able to handle. So I replaced it with these spruce trees I found on the marketplace. Also, spruce fits more with this kind of environment. And after adjusting the material according to my scene, we have a nice dense forest. I also added the fallen trees which mostly explains the damaged walls. And now finally I added those puddles which I prepared almost very first. Then the next very thing I did was to one by one convert each mesh to nanite. Then after almost everything was done, I realized you can select all at one and enable nanite. After that I added extra details and some barricades in front of the warehouse. Maybe again those bad or maybe good people. Mercenaries man, whatever they are plotting. Wow, I really said good bad people. You cringe. What's happening to my voice? Now, honestly, at this point, I can throw any nonsense shit I want and blame it on those armed individuals. Anyways, we got a little sidetracked. I enabled wind for all the foliages because I was aiming for a windy rainy day, my favorite kind of weather, honestly. So now comes the most fun or the most important part, which has the ability to take your scene from this to this. Basically, it's that RTX off and on meme, and that is lighting. So yeah, adjusted the direction light to what looks good. I mean, it's just subjective to each individual what kind of visuals they prefer. Now, if you want to make your sky more atmospheric, or should I say foggy, stormy, rainy type weather, then increase this my scattering setting found in sky atmosphere. Also, I enable the volumetric fog in exponential height fog, which gives these beautiful light shafts. Now I added the post-processing volume to spice up things more. It's like compositing you do in After Effects or similar softwares, and this thing has the potential to improve your visuals to a much greater extent. Oh, also now we can finally say goodbye to Miss Pepper Potts. RTX off, RTX on, RTX off, on. You know, it's funny because I don't even have a RTX GPU, but Lumen is basically the same thing. It's software based ray tracing. Also added Firefly's particle effects for no apparent reason other than it looks cool. After that, I also added some extra rack lights to make things interesting, although this much light should be avoided because it puts a heavy toll on performance, but for render purpose, we can afford that. And now it's finally time to make a sequence and render it in movie render queue. So at first the thing was crashing constantly, out of memory error, DC device failed and something like that. I even tried lowering resolution, still no good. I was scratching my head for hours, turned out it was DirectX problem. I had my settings to DirectX 12 and after switching to DX11 everything was running okay. So very cool Unreal. Alright, that's it for today. And the shots you saw were actually raw render that came out of Unreal. No post compositing was done in softwares such as After Effects, Nuke. Also, this video was not supposed to come before the shooter devlog, but it is what it is. I am currently working on locomotion system for the game. You'll see that soon. I swear it will not take another 6 months for another video. Actually, I would like to show you now a sneak peek of what's happening on that project. I feel like a lot of multiplayer shooters lack that cinematic experience nowadays, so I'm trying to make something immersive, cinematic, and that's way too ambitious, I would say, but I hope it works out. So, thanks for watching, like the video, share with your mates, subscribe, and see you next time.